Well, good morning, everyone. Happy week 3. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're settling into the content and that you're enjoying the course and you're reflecting on your practice. Week 3, you're going to be reading and watching some things. You're going to read 6 fundamentals of building an inclusive learning community. You're going to read 5 inclusive classroom strategies to build a safe community, and you're going to be watching weekly circles building community to foster academic achievement. And this week, because we're looking at the topic of building community in classrooms. Also, remember this is week 3, and your next assignment 2, is due Sunday, week 4, and that's your culturally responsive group presentation. You want to make sure that you have connected with your group member or members, that you are working with your group member or members. You don't want to wait till the last minute and stress anyone out. So make sure that you're working on your presentation this week and getting it all ready to be submitted Sunday of week 4. So we're going to be looking at, the first thing I want to look at is the 5 inclusive classroom strategies. And I'm just going to read them off to you really quickly. Get to know your students and let them get to know you. Create a safe space for students to share. Deliver instruction in a variety of ways. Choose relevant literature. Invite guest speakers to share their stories. So when we're looking at an inclusive classroom, remember, it includes a wide range of teaching techniques that accommodate the diverse backgrounds, learning styles, and abilities of students. These techniques aim to create an inclusive learning environment that recognizes and honors the distinct needs and strengths of each student. Through the use of inclusive teaching strategies, teachers can establish a learning environment that values, supports, and empowers all students to achieve their goals. The ultimate objective of inclusive teaching strategies is to guarantee that every student has equitable access to learning and feels a sense of belonging in the classroom. Um, for me, and this is going to be different depending on what grade level you teach. So for me, I taught the majority of my career in 11th and 12th grade. And so some of the things that I did to make students feel welcome and that they belonged in my classroom is that I was always out on the front. I have like a little front porch on my bungalow. I was always out on the front porch whenever they were coming to class. And they'd be running towards me or walking towards me or having a snack. And I'd always be like, Julio, put those hot chips down. Come on, let's go. Or I'd pretend that I was going to close the door when the tardy bell rang, things like that. Or if I knew somebody was going through a hard time, I could take a moment with that person and offer them, some love, some respect, some how are you doing, what's going on today, and that type of thing, and just make them know that I really wanted them to be there, and that I knew them, and that I understood them as best as I possibly could. And another thing that I always did with my students is when the 11th or 12th graders came to me and wanted to really talk to me about something, like it could be class or it could be grades or it could be something more serious like loss of a family member or a breakup or something like that, that they just wanted to share, hey, I'm not doing so great today, or, can I talk to you at the end of class? I'm really stressed about this. I always made sure that my full attention was on them, meaning that if I was writing something and they said something, or, I was looking elsewhere, I would always say, just like I'm doing to you right now, I'd say, I can see this is really important. Will you give me just a moment to finish this up? And then I'm going to give you my full attention. And I would finish up everything and turn off whatever, like very quickly, and then turn and say, okay, I'm all yours. What can I do? And just sit with them. And, this helps them to feel connected, and it helps them to feel heard. And what we have to remember is that many of our students go home and they don't have adults they're connected to. They're not heard. And they may not even have people that are reading to them or are interested in reading with them or interested in hearing about their day or their sports teams or those types of things. And so we can be that person. And it doesn't mean you suddenly have to go to all their games and do all of their things and stuff like that. But you can say, hey, how was the soccer game on Friday? And then, they can say, oh, it's great. We won, or, oh, we lost. And, oh, man, you were robbed, stuff like that. Anything that makes them feel connected. Another thing that I was always honest with my students about is, a lot of times students think that we're just good at education, that this just comes easy for us, that we've never struggled, that we've never failed, that, it's not hard for us. They really see us that way. And so I would often share with them, things that mistakes I made in high school, bad grades I got, or being grounded for something, and they always love to hear that. And I just would do like a 2 to 3 minute warm up, 2 to 3 minute warm up, where I would just like talk or share something, usually tied in with something that I was going to do that day, but not always, just kind of sharing so that they would feel comfortable. Depending on your schedule, depending on your school, my class was out in the bungalows way, way in the back. There was a bathroom, luckily, right across from it, a bathroom and a drinking fountain right across that I could see from my door. And my 11th and 12th graders would really struggle getting all the way to the back in campus in time and going to the bathroom um, before class. So I made a rule with my class that get to the class before the tardy bell rings so you don't get picked up in a tardy sweep, you don't get in trouble. So everybody would come directly to my class. I would do roll, and then as soon as everything was quiet on the campus, we would very quietly go out and they would all use the bathroom and get a sip of water and then come back in and go about our business and start our day or start our period. And some people are like, man, I don't have time for that. I got to teach bell to bell, or I've got curriculum to teach. Well, consider this. How many students are asking to go to the bathroom, or whatever, go get a drink of water, go get a Kleenex, go to the nurse's office, whatever. I found that starting my class that way not only showed them that I cared about them, that I respected them, that I was treating them like young adults, but I also found that it built more loyalty with my students, and that once we came back to the class, everybody gone to the bathroom, everybody had a drink of water, and then I would say, cell phones off, screens down. And I always did it that way in that quiet and calm voice. And I tell you, only about 5 times in as many years as we've had cell phones did I ever have anybody break that rule, because I built that time into the class and I made them feel heard and comfortable. And also, as well as I do, if you haven't finished your snack or your lunch, if you haven't finished your nutrition snack or lunch, if you haven't gone to the bathroom, if you have to go to the bathroom, you're not listening, you're not learning. And if you've taken the brain based research class already, which I'm sure some of you have, then you'll know a stressed brain is a brain that can't learn. So the more you do those things, the more you build community with your students. And it really, really makes a difference. Now, once again, this is dependent on the age of your students. If you have littles, you might already have something in where they all go together to the restroom and then you start class, those types of things. But I'm just saying you want to consider what things can you do to make your students comfortable, to build community, your routine with your students, and and those things matter. And those things matter, and they make the classroom more inclusive by seeing them, by being connected to them. I always read our novels out loud to the students because so many students don't have people to read out loud to them. And I cannot even tell you in 11th or 12th grade how lovely it was to watch these 11th or 12th graders listening to me read novels to them, do all the voices of The Outsiders or Catcher in the Rye or whatever book we were reading, and have them just absorbed in, or coming back after being absent and being like, man, I hated missing your class, Miss Wood. I missed that whole chapter. And I used to say to them all the time, especially like if we were doing silent reading or things like that, I'd always read with them. And they would be like, man, you always read with us. And I said, if it's important to me, if I think it's important for you to learn, then I'm going to do it with you. And so you have to find out what convictions work for you, what things work for you. It may not be what I do, but you find your things and you do it. Some teachers like to stand at their front door and have nicknames or do special handshakes. Some people just like to be present, and that's fine. Whatever's your style, but how can you bring this style in and build that community, build that academic family that loves coming to your classroom to learn, even on the hard days? And that's the thing that I want people to realize more than anything. When you do this, it's like, people will be like, oh, well, I've gotten before from people, oh, well, you're easy on them. No, I'm not easy on them. I do expect academic excellence, but they're more willing to try for me because they feel connected to me. And even some of my teachers that I remember from middle school were very challenging in what they expected. But because I felt seen by them and heard and loved and cared for and honored and respected them, I wanted to try. I wanted to try. They made me want to be a better student all the time. And that brings me to the other thing is we really have to watch our words. We have to watch what we say to our students. Being snippy, being sarcastic. We all have bad days. And if we have a bad day and we're out of line, we need to show them how adults apologize and we need to show them how we recover. They need to see this because they have to learn how to do it. And, they need to do it at work. They need to do it in college. They need to do it at in their jobs. I said work already, families, relationships. So they need to see adults not just keep, well, yeah, but, well, yeah, I did do that. I'm sorry. I'm going to work on that. That's it. That's it. Okay, so those are some of the things that really helped me in my classroom. I always got to know my students. I always let them get to know me. You pick and choose what things from your life you want to share with them. But I will tell you, they like hearing about you in school. They like hearing about you in college. They like hearing about those struggles. They like hearing about when maybe you were not so good and what happened. So figure out what you're comfortable sharing and share that. You don't have to share it all. Creating a safe space for students, that's all about creating a safe space for students, knowing that they're comfortable in your room. Modeling empathy and compassion. It doesn't mean that you don't still expect things from them, as I said. It just means that you're being compassionate. Make sure you're delivering instruction in varied ways. Make sure that, maybe you're doing project based. Maybe you're doing small group. Have students facilitate other students. They love that. Like if you have tech savvy students, then and you've built like a comfortable classroom and everybody's working on the Chromebooks, you can say, hey, if you're still not sure how to do this, raise your hand. And Yahira and Fred and Mary and Baron, they're going to come over and they're going to facilitate for you. They're going to teach you how to do this. And then make sure that the students know that are in the position to facilitate, hands off, that they don't do it for them, that they show them, that they teach them. And then that becomes so empowering because they feel so important to the classroom, and they are. And this is exactly what we want to see in classroom. We want to make sure that, we choose relevant literature. Literature that, as the clip says in our inclusive classroom strategies, highlights the human experience and stories that are diverse, different ages, different abilities, physical and learning, different backgrounds, indigenous, African American, Latino, Latina, um, Cambodian, as I was talking about before. Invite guest speakers to share their stories. If you have that, if you are allowed to do that at your school, do it. Or if you don't have time in your classroom, but they can have like an assembly where guest speakers can come and speak, then do that. One of the high schools in Long Beach just asked me to come speak for career day because I'm a musician and writer outside of being a professor. And I was unable to go because I'm traveling this month. But my son, who is a sound engineer in music, he's going. And he's an adult. Anyways, he's going. And, we have to honor too that we want to prepare kids for college and we want to make sure that they're doing everything they need to do to go to college if they want to. But we also have to be open to what they want to do that might not include that. And so I had a student, really great artist. They were trying to get him to go on the college artist path. He knew he wanted to be a tattoo artist. His older brother was a tattoo artist. He is now a very well-known tattoo artist, very successful tattoo artist, running a tattoo studio in Costa Mesa, California, and just fabulous life. And same with my son. My son did some college, and it's not that he didn't like college, but because of his musical skill, because of his background, he was able to go directly into a company and become a sound engineer. So we have to look at these different paths and be careful and cautious what we say. And a very quick story, because I'm already at 16 minutes here. But I had a teacher one time that I absolutely, absolutely loved. And I showed her some standardized test scores that I had. And there were other people around. So, I don't know why she said what she did, but she said, oh, those scores don't matter. That's doesn't mean, you're going to be nothing more than average like in college. And I was like, it's like, wow. And I was really I was really upset about that because I was a gifted student and I was really upset that she wasn't admiring my skills, this person that I really looked up to and really thought about. And that really hurt my feelings and changed my relationship with her and changed my relationship, for years. When I was getting my master's degree, she ended up being my professor. And the very first class, she said to the master's students, you need to be very careful as a teacher. She said it like that, what you say to students, because, what you say could affect them for the rest of their life. Does anyone have a story about that? I went, you. And, so I told the story. She took it. She apologized and she was like, there was probably somebody standing next to you that had really bombed the scores. And so I was trying not to make it a big deal. She goes, and I didn't think about how you would feel about it. And she's like, I'm so sorry. But the thing that we need to remember is things like that can turn the tide rather quickly. And, I never said anything to her, of course, because I was a young person. If I had said something, I'm sure she probably would have apologized or made amends. But we need to be cautious about those things. And so that's some food for thought. And then just quickly going over the 6 fundamentals of building a class: awareness, feeling safe, belonging, esteem, learner voice, and agency. Those are all things that you're going to be looking at this week. And like I said, I'm almost at 20 minutes, so I'm going to let this go. But have a wonderful week 3. Consider what you're doing well to really build that community in your classroom and make everyone feel included. And consider all of the different groups that are represented in your room. Really think about that this week. And, your quiets, your louds, your anxious, your non-anxious, different abilities, physical, mental, emotional. Compassion, empathy. I want you to think about all of those things this week. And then look at your curriculum and see how you're representing your students. Okay? All right. Be well.